Flag Day. Let's play hardball. Good evening, I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. Well, the party that fought for the Union in the 1860s and backed civil rights in the 1960s has been caught offsides in the racial politics of the 21st century. In the past 24 hours, Republican presidential candidates have been like circus elephants attempting backflips. It has not been a pretty sight. The question for us tonight, why is the political cotillion that fashions itself as the party of Lincoln having a problem letting go of the battle flag of Jefferson Davis? Eugene Robinson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for the Washington Post, and Michael Steele was chairman of the Republican Party. Both are MSNBC political analysts. I want to start with you, Michael. Sure. And I wonder why your party's having this problem. It was very uneven. Some came out early and said, we got to get rid of that flag in the wake of the tragedy in Charleston. Others have been hemming and hawing and only moving most of them after Nikki Haley had the courage to give that beautiful speech yesterday.
What a wonderful way to set the right tone on this discussion.
She did, finally.
Governor Haley, so hats off to her. If you want to know how to lead on this issue, follow her, because she really, I think, set the mantle for us. Now, let's back it up. You have candidates running for the presidency who are playing to a particular constituency. They're looking at the state of South Carolina for the upcoming Republican primary.
The white people in South Carolina.
The white folks in the primary in South Carolina. And in the beginning, I think a lot of them were hedging their bets, so they took the hands-off approach. They didn't want to engage on the subject. But for me, that is the perfect opportunity, because you laid it out. Our history, both in the 1800s and the 1900s, and now in this opportunity to lead on civil rights again, I thought was a very important but unfortunately missed opportunity.
And I thought, your thoughts first.
No, I think Michael was right. I think they were hedging their bets, particularly the candidates who were still trying to have a presence in the polls, right?
Yeah,
you know,
the ones working for number 10.
Exactly, the ones who aren't quite rising to the point where they're even getting in the first debate.
What about Kasich, who's trying to make the 10? And he said, I thought he handled the issue of local thinking or local decision-making and national values pretty well. He said, if I lived in South Carolina, I'd be for taking it down.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you know who put them all on the spot was Mitt Romney, right? Who came out like, over the weekend with his tweet saying, you know, get rid of the flag.
And
right?
what makes him more free to say that now?
Well, you know,
but he's not running.
But not just free, consistent. In 2007, Mitt had that position and made it very clear going in the 2008 election that flag should be taken down.
And it was sad because you remember John McCain back in 2000.
Yes,
he wouldn't do it.
Who now says that was a mistake.
Yeah, right afterwards he said it was a mistake. In fact, he got. Anyway, here's an issue I do care about a lot, as well as we all care about the flag. I care about voting. Reince Priebus, the Republican National Chairman, popped up behind South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley yesterday, and yet the chair of the Republican National Committee presides over a party engaged in efforts to block black voter efforts in nearly 20 states right now. Donald Trump, by the way, today backed the move by Governor Haley. Let's watch him.
I think they should put it in the museum, let it go. Respect whatever it is that you have to respect because it was a point in time, and put it in a museum. But I would take it down, yes.
It's hard not to look directly at that hat. I don't know what his red hat was for anyway. Yeah, he's a red cap now. Anyway, yeah, Trump spent years, or actually years, playing to the country's racists by insulting the president and questioning his legitimacy.
Why doesn't he show his birth certificate? And you know what? I wish he would, because I think it's a terrible pall that's hanging over him. He should show his birth certificate. The other thing, if you go back to my first grade, my kindergarten, people remember me. Nobody from those early years.
That's not true.
In other words, I love the way Whoopi Goldberg, her body language. What do I think of this steer joke? Anyway, you see, not only is he illegitimate, a guy stuck in the country illegally, but he never really went to any of these schools because nobody remembers him. Because he was a phantom. He didn't exist. He's not even Barack Obama, whatever country he came from.
He's the Manchurian president.
Why is that still play in your party?
But it doesn't. I don't know that it does. And I haven't heard anyone. I have not heard anyone make the arguments that you're making right now. No one's talking about the.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Well, nobody's talking about the president's birthday. That is past and beyond.
Oh, that's forget that now. Is Donald Trump taking that back?
I don't know if he's taking it back,
No,
but
he
he's
hasn't.
not talking about it. He's not. This is not part of the conversation.
It's just like one of those little blackboards that disappears when you pull the thing
whether
up.
it disappears or not, I mean, just as Hillary doesn't want to talk about certain things in the past, I'm sure Donald Trump doesn't want to talk about this.
How about Reince Priebus showing up yesterday, pretending he cared about black rights when he's been fighting voter suppression now in 20 states? He keeps doing it.
But having served in the job, I know as chairman, you're not responsible for the state legislatures of 50 different state
What is the leader of the Republican Party supposed to be for?
But he's not writing the legislation. He's not the one.
He shouldn't say what's right and what's wrong.
Well, he can speak to it, and that's a different conversation.
Has he?
He has not spoken to it.
Okay, thank you. Here's Rick Santorum, who even now refuses to take a position on whether stars and bars should get off that lawn. Today, he said that to answer that question while running for president would cheapen the issue. Let's watch.
I'm just suggesting that it's a decision that should be made by South Carolina, and politicizing this and putting it in the context of a presidential campaign, I think cheapens it. I think this is an issue that's bigger and more important than that, and I'm trying to focus in on what I think is really amazing of the reconciliation, both with the flag and what's going on here at the church, and I don't think necessarily my entering into that and telling what I should do or what I would do is any more telling or more important than what the people actually are doing here.
Explain, Eugene.
I
was going to say explain Lucy, but I don't know how to explain this.
The only explanation I have is that he's worried about losing whatever percentage it is of South Carolina Republicans who are, flag revanchists, who are really going to, are going to hold on to that flag until you have to pry their cold dead fingers off of it.
Yeah, well, that's what Charlton Heston wrote.
Exactly. But look, I don't think he's getting much out of this, frankly. I don't think he's going to get those votes necessarily with this stance. The whole Republican Party in South Carolina, basically, all the power brokers were there yesterday.
Yeah, he's fighting for the jumper seat in the clown car.
But this is the point for me.
I'm going to ask you, this reminds me of our history in this country. Remember Nixon when Martin Luther King was arrested down in Georgia, right in the middle of the election of 1960? Thanks to Harris Wofford and Sarge Robert Kennedy got on the phone to Mrs. King and changed everything. The blue bomb came out of that, the big vote, big support of black churches.
For Republicans.
Nixon wouldn't touch it. Jackie Robinson got on the train and said, you got to do something, Mr. Vice President. You got to do something. And Nixon said that would be grandstanding. And it just sounds like Rick Santorum. I would be cheap in the issue. Why do people come up with these phrases?
Well, because it's fear. It's political calculation. And it is the lack of moral certitude on something as important and significant as Dr. King being illegally jailed, or a flag that, a significant portion of the population view as racist and antithetical to their interests. And so, getting beyond that fear has been a real struggle for a lot of politicians.
I wonder, could any other guy besides Nikki Haley have done the dramatic thing? I know how affected you were by it because we put a clip of it. And I didn't grow up like you did down there. And I thought this was one of the rare moments in television where somebody actually looked like a leader.
No, absolutely. Look, I thought she was terrific yesterday. I really did. I thought her tone was just right, not just the content of what she said, which very carefully, kind of explained. We were talking earlier. It was like she was Mama saying, this is the way it's going to be from now on. And she said it very sweetly, but she said it. But I thought her tone was perfect. Her voice was confident. She did a really good job yesterday.
So could anybody else have done that?
Nobody.
Well,
I don't know.
No, because they didn't.
Well, Lindsey Graham could have done it, but he didn't.
I said no, but they didn't.
But here's the question, though. So here you had Nikki Haley, Indian-American governor, off this terrific performance. I'm confident she's going to get the flag down. She's flanked by Tim Scott, elected black Republican senator from South Carolina. Will they go beyond the flag? Will they go beyond the symbol of the flag?
Who's they? The Republican Party or South Carolina?
To begin to show the Republican Party how it can get on the right side of some of these issues, some of the concrete issues. Will they be the new Jack Kemp?
Who's the new Jack Kemp? Is it she? Who's the new Kemp?
Well,
the face of the party that's credible.
She showed some elements of it. I think you've got someone potentially like a Rand Paul who has spent a lot of time in the community. He was late in his response here, but he at least has a record that he can fall on. But can I, just on Nikki Haley, the one thing that I think is important to take away from that was how she wove together two disparate interests. She had that Southern white conservative and everyone else. And she, in her statement, wove them together in a very important way. I think that's going to your point, help her have that flag taken down.
Well, today, Senator Rand Paul was asked about the flag issue. Let's listen to what he said.
I think the flag is inescapably a symbol of human bondage and slavery, and particularly when people use it, obviously for, murder and to justify hatred so vicious that you would kill somebody. I think that symbolism needs to end, and I think South Carolina is doing the right thing.
Well, according to Rush Limbaugh, removing the flag has nothing to do with taking down a symbol of hatred. For the Republican Party's grand vizier, it's all a liberal effort to target the South. Let's listen to the underwater walrus and what he has to say.
I have a prediction. Just said it's not going to stop with the Confederate flag because it's not about the Confederate flag. It is about destroying the South as a political force. It's about isolating, targeting, and identifying the South as Dylann Roof. Do not doubt me, folks, and I'll make another prediction to you. The next flag that will come under assault, and it will not be long, is the American flag.
Why do people listen to that crap?
I don't know.
I mean, nobody thinks the American flag's under assault. Nobody.
No,
we're not. Who was sitting in their car buying that garbage?
Well, but look, the thing about the South, and I'm sure Rush knows this and appreciates this, it's changing. The South Carolina today is not the South Carolina of 10 years ago, let alone 50 years ago.
Or of 2 weeks ago.
Of 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
We look at the South, a state like North Carolina and Virginia, states like that, voting for Barack Obama. There is changes that are happening
like events
there.
matter.
That
Pearl Harbor mattered. Dallas
and
mattered.
the party's got to be
mattered.
party's got to be in with those changes and know what's going on.
Arthur Schlesinger once said that being a politician is to be essentially a learning profession. You must learn all the time.
Right. So which Republicans learned that Charleston matters? What happened last week in Charleston?
Because it showed
it's going to matter in the
our
long run.
bloodstream has this in it.
Yeah.
It wasn't an organization, it wasn't a police force, it was this kid who was somehow channeling the hatred that he had somehow inherited from somewhere, from this society. Thank you, Eugene Robinson. And thank you, Michael Steele. You were great yesterday.